Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or MonkeyDude1313, and this is a nearly complete master set of Jungle. This set was the second Pokemon TCG set ever. It was the first expansion to the TCG, and we have all but one card. And it's not just unlimited either. That's also including first editions, so you won't want to miss it. Before I get into that though, last week's master set Monday, 9 days ago, was a master set of XY base featuring Mega Blastoise, Mega Venusaur, and a bunch of amazing full arts, including the first Xerneas and Yveltal full arts. Definitely go check that one out if you're into the XY era. 2 days ago, Master Set Monday, was Crown Zenith, with the Galarian Gallery fully intact. Absolutely fantastic. So, if you want to go check that out as well, you can definitely go. It's on the channel. It was uploaded 2 days ago. Alright, but for Jungle, I don't have a bunch of random corollary stuff to throw in on this one because I just want to let Jungle speak for itself. But I do have to address the elephant in the room that I do have my French Dragonite First Edition and a Golden Fire Energy here as bookmarks. Why? Well, I'll get through that very quickly. The first reason is in this binder we also store our fossil set. So you can see Fossil First Edition here right at the beginning, and this entire section here is our Fossil completed master set. If you want to check out that master set, I highly recommend you go to our channel, type in Fossil, and you'll find it. This other bookmark is Base Set 2. We keep this one in the same binder as well. So the problem is these sets are so tiny that they can't fill up a normal 1-inch binder themselves. So we can compress multiple of them into one binder, and with a 1.5 inch we can very comfortably hold Jungle, Fossil, and Base 2. So that is why this binder has multiple sets. As you notice with the Fossil, we normally keep our first editions first because printing order. First edition means first print run, and so we usually keep our first editions in the front of the binder. But in this case, since I like to format it slightly differently for the videos, I just quickly moved the unlimited first so that we can slowly build up to the fun reveal of all the first editions we have. Alright, so let's get a move on. This Electrode, in the second set to ever exist, we now have 2 Electrodes. So this is actually the second version of Electrode, despite there only being 2 sets. So one of the few Pokemon that got a reprint despite... not a reprint, sorry. One of the first Pokemon to get a second copy of its card, despite it only being the second set. Fossil saw a ton of reprints, because at that point we had 180 cards already made, and with 151 Pokemon, it's not too hard to see that we're going to be duplicating pretty quickly. Things like this Pidgeot are also interesting, because Pidgeotto was in the base set, right before this one, as a rare, not as a holo, but as a rare, and they never had a Pidgeot in that set. So, Pidgeot was featured despite its Pidgeotto counterpart being printed the set before. Similarly, Clefairy had a holo rare from base set 1, but Clefable didn't exist in base set 1. So, we got a Clefable card here. A lot of the holos from the Unlimited section we have had for quite a long time. And so, varying conditions, we haven't chosen to upgrade a lot of them, but they do still look quite nice. This Electrode, I am going to pull this Electrode out, give you a nice little look at it, and then set it aside so that we can get back to Electrode in a moment here. But let's continue on. A lot of the rares in this set were just non-holo versions of their holo counterpart. So as you can see here, we have Mr. Mime Holo, and we have Mr. Mime Non-Holo. Pinsir Holo, Pinsir Non-Holo, Flareon Holo, Flareon Non-Holo. Very convenient that it worked out in this way. You can see Scyther here, Snorlax here, etc. But they did a holo rare version and a non-holo rare of just about every single of the holos in the set. So, Clefable, like we were just pointing out. So, a fun fact for these cards. But let's flip through and enjoy the unlimited master set of Jungle. Very nice, some very, very iconic artworks, like this Butterfree, fantastic Butterfree. Similarly, we got a Caterpie and Metapod in base set, but no Butterfree. And then we got a Butterfree in this set. Alright, so, second printing of Pikachu, similar to the Electrode, we got a second one of those guys. despite existing in base set. And here we are for the grand reveal already. It's so quick. Last card of the Unlimited set, we have some kind of cameos here from the error prints. So if you'll notice, this is a jungle Venomoth, but it is missing the jungle symbol here. So basically every card in jungle has a no symbol error. And then similarly, a lot of the cards from base set have an additional jungle symbol error. And so we will get into those in a moment. But we have slowly collected a few of the no symbol errors. But since it is not an official TCG set, we have not set our sights on completing an entire no symbol error jungle set. But it's on the radar, and it will happen at some point. All right, just wanted to show off some of these guys missing the symbol. All right, so I made it relatively smooth and not a lot of pomp and circumstance, but this is the grandest reveal in the entire video, and we're only 6 minutes in. That's because these are all of the Holos from Jungle First Edition. Most of these we got in the last year, because when we were originally trying to complete the sets, we didn't care so much about First Edition versus non-First Edition, or basic set versus reverses. So we didn't really collect the First Editions, but now we do. So we had to go out and find these at card shows in the area. So I'll pull them out one at a time. We can take a nice little look. There's not all that much to say about some of these old cards, because so much of what I appreciate about these cards is nostalgia. It is sitting down with my friends, opening a few packs here and there, really enjoying the cards we got for this specific Electrode, not the exact one, but for the Electrode art in general. Getting swindled by one of my friends who, I was young enough that they remained my friend anyway after that, but they did a little bit of tomfoolery where they would, oops, I don't know where your card went. You must have lost it. And of course, they had it the whole time. And I only know about this because I found him with it later. What a jerk. But that's okay. So I have some solid memories with these cards, both from the far past and from the very recent past, because of finding these at card shows. For example, this Jolteon was from a friend of ours in town named Nicholas. He's a fantastic guy. He always has good stuff to hook us up with, and it's just a pleasure seeing him at shows. Alrighty, moving right along. Kangaskhan. I was surprised at how affordable this guy is. I really try and avoid using the word cheap, because cheap makes it sound like the card is not worth much, when really it is still quite worth it, but it is not a high dollar amount. But we ended up getting this guy for like 20 bucks or something, when it's currently worth about 70. Absolutely fantastic. Fetch, broken by the way. All right, Mr. Mime. Absolutely beautiful Mr. Mime here. Since we picked these up recently, you can tell that our standards for quality have gone up significantly, and we are only getting really nice clean copies of these guys. But since it is a jungle set, one of the originals, they printed a ton of these guys, and so it was not too difficult to find clean copies of these. This Nidoqueen, I think, was one of the first edition jungles we bought this year. We had a few already from before, but this is one of the first ones we bought, and so this was one of my first times getting to interact with a vendor on trying to price a first edition vintage card. And so, interestingly, we couldn't agree on what the card should be worth. I thought at the time the card should be worth about 65, and he thought it should be worth 75 to 80. So we ended up doing a coin flip, and I won. So I ended up paying what I thought the card would be worth, which is 65. So kind of nice. Fun little memory for that there. This Pidgeot was one of the few first edition Holos, I should say, that we had from quite a while ago. So this one was not one we found over the last year, but one that we've just had for a while. And luckily for us, it is still in quite nice shape. I absolutely love that Starburst holo pattern on it. All right, Pinsir. Pinsir to me screams jungle. Not just because it's the first holo I ever pulled from this set back when I was a kid, but because it just seems like a jungle Pokemon. It's a bug, it's grass type, and it definitely seems like something that would leap out of the bushes at you and really try and attack. So Pinsir to me kind of feels like the quintessential jungle Pokemon if I were to name a Pokemon to represent the set. Of course, a lot of people view the most expensive cards in the set as what represents the set, which is fine. All right, so now for the grandest reveal from this set, which is the backside pages of the Holos. And why I say grandest is, despite only having 6 Holos on it, this Snorlax is really the show stealer for Jungle. So this is the most expensive card in the set. All right, so we'll start with Scyther, who stole the show because of his Haymaker deck presence way back in the day. You would have Electabuzz, Hitmonchan, Scyther, a bunch of plus powers, a bunch of bills, Professor Oaks, and just start beating up your opponent. And having a bunch of basic Pokemon that can start one-shotting even Stage 1 Pokemon, very, very powerful. Of course, it caused a ton of text to come out, and decks started getting kind of wild after that. This Snorlax, absolutely beautiful Snorlax, and we found this at a card show, I'd say 4 months ago, and it was the last buy of the day. And so usually when I go to these shows, I will take out a certain amount of cash, and that will be our soft limit for the day, you know, aside from really appealing buys that might require other payment methods. But this is our very last purchase of the day, and in order to convince him to take the amount of money I was wanting to spend, I had to literally show him that my money pouch had nothing left after pulling out the amount I had previously talked about. So it was very nice of him to take, I think, maybe $10 less than he really wanted for it. But it was literally our last dollar at the time. So kind of a fun little memory there. But Snorlax is actually a fantastic Pokemon. And this copy is extremely clean. There's a little bit of scratching here and there, but overall, very, very beautiful card. Absolutely love it. It's the chase card for the set. I love Snorlax. Snorlax is like top 50 Pokemon for me. All right. So I haven't spoken much about the evolutions, but this was the first set that the evolutions were in, and therefore they this is the beginning of their popularity. You know, of course, you could argue that in the games was the beginning of their popularity, but I would argue that the TCG as well really played a big part. So this is the very first Jolteon. This is the very first Vaporeon that was ever made, and I had pulled out the Vaporeon and Jolteon. Wow, my brain is broken. I pulled out the Flareon and Jolteon earlier to take a look at, too. Quite beautiful. A fun fact, let me take a quick page back. This Flareon, this first edition one, and the Vaporeon that I was just showing you, we got from the same vendor, and they called them LP+. I called them Near Mint Minus. Either way, very, very clean copies, and I was very tempted at the time to buy the Bubble Mew from Paldea Evolved. And this is at a time where the Bubble Mew is $290. If you know anything about the price of Bubble Mew now, it very recently went over the $600 range and is now starting to settle back down into the mid-500s. But instead of buying the Bubble Mew, I decided to buy a desk mat that had Bubble Mew and a bunch of other Pokemon on it. And right now I'm kicking myself wishing I had just bought the Bubble Mew, because it is very, very expensive. All right, so there's Venomoth next. We actually bought 2 first edition Jungle Venomoths. The first one we got was the first one we had seen in like 4 months of searching for at card shows, and so we decided to grab one. It had a little bit too much extra damage in there. This one doesn't have it, but we ended up taking it anyway. And then in that exact same show later in the day, we found this copy, which was much, much cleaner. So not perfect, but very, very clean anyway. And so we ended up grabbing this one. All right, 3 more Holos on this page. We got Victory Bell here. One of James's favorite Pokemon at the time, with Team Rocket. And then we have Vileplume. Quite nice card. Very interesting art style on this guy. Very clean copy. And then finally, we have the Wigglytuff First Edition. Do the Wave. Anything that's based on number of benched Pokemon is bound to be at least somewhat interesting to consider, and Do the Wave Wigglytuff ended up being a decent powerhouse at the time. Nothing wild, especially since it was weak to Hitmonchan, but, you know, what can you do when for a double colorless and another energy of your choice, you can be doing 60 damage, which at the time was quite wild. All right, so we're at the end of the Holos. What else is there to say? What are we missing from Wishlist Wednesday? Well, you may have noticed by now, this electrode is upside down. And the reasons it's upside down is because if we take a look at it, jungle symbol, first edition, non-holo, but base set art. This is the base set misprint of the Electrode. The art that's supposed to be on it is this Electrode that I pulled out earlier. So we need this exact card with the jungle symbol, with the first edition symbol, non-holo, but with this art on it. We've been going to shows for 9+ months and we cannot find it anywhere. This is one of the oldest cards we've been searching for. Not just old in terms of how old the card is, but how long we've been looking for it, and we just cannot find it. And we're not a huge fan of buying cards online to have shipped to us, especially since you don't get to take a look at them. And so we have been one card away from a Jungle Master set for so long because of this frickin' Electrode. Very, very annoying. And to make things even worse, I'm going to put on screen something here for your edification and enjoyment. A lovely vendor in our area who we've seen many times. We're decent friends with him. You know, we have a nice chat whenever we meet up. He has the exact Electrode we need, non-holo, first edition, jungle artwork, but in a different language. And so whenever we're going through his binders to see what kind of new stuff he has, we always get jump scared by the Electrode you see on your screen here. I'm glad he has it. It's very cool, but we've thought about buying it just to, fill in the slot while we look for it, but it is kind of more of a fun joke at this point, similar to the Bolt Hunt from Rebel Clash. All right, so without further ado, let's flip through the rest of the non-holo first editions in this set, and then we can call this video a wrap. All right, so some nice looking cards here. So much iconic art, like I said before. I am I'm way into nostalgia. Nostalgia is like one of the biggest things I have for these older sets, and I just absolutely love it. Lick a tongue, very playable, very, very annoying if you can keep your opponent paralyzed locked. I don't know, man. I just absolutely love these cards. I have very, very fond memories of opening them up with my friends and having a great time with them. No care in the world, no worry about how much they're worth, just great cards and a great time. I was 7, so what can you really do? All right, so as you can see here now, we are at the end of the set with Pokeball card number 64 out of 64. And one final aside before the video is over is this Butterfree. At first glance, this Butterfree looks fairly standard. First edition stamp, jungle symbol over here, the correct artwork and everything, no big deal. But if you look really close, you can see that this is the misprint D edition Butterfree. And normally it would just have a nice little 1 in there, but there's a little loop of ink missing, which makes it the D edition Butterfree. It's worth more than your standard first edition Butterfree, but not by a crazy amount. Still an amazing, very cool card. I'm very happy we found it. A vendor that we really like at a show happened to have one day, and we thought, you know what, why not? Let's add it to our jungle collection. So we actually got D edition Butterfree before we got the first edition non-holo Electrode. But that is the master set of Jungle, minus the frickin' Electrode, dude. That one Electrode is the bane of our existence right now. But every weekend we go to more shows, we might find it. We might be there. All right, so everyone, thank you guys for watching. I absolutely adore Jungle. I could go on for hours and hours about it, about how there's a pre-release Clefable that I'm really looking for, but it's $400, and I don't know if I want to spend that right now. Meanwhile, there are people with just stacks and stacks of them. The pre-release Raichu that accidentally got in the presses along with it. There's just so much to say about this set, but in the interest of time, let's keep it rolling and wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching. Post in the comment if you have another master set or near master set you'd love to see featured, and we will absolutely take your feedback into account. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.